is Kim Addis from Frame of Mind Coaching, and you are joining us for the Frame of Mind Coaching podcast. And today my co-host is Thembi Becca. Now, I was a guest on her podcast not that long ago, and we totally hit it off. And I'm so excited to introduce you to this extraordinary woman. Thembi, welcome.
Thank you so much, Kim, for having me. I am so excited to be here.
So when we spoke last time, you were interviewing me, and this is not an interview, it's a conversation, but I want to share with people what you're up to. You live in Kelowna some of the time, and you live in Zimbabwe some of the time, and you're on a mission. So can you please share with everybody what that mission is? Because I think it's unbelievable and amazing.
Thank you. Yes, I am on a mission, and the mission is to change the future for women around the world. And that is to impact as many women as I can so they can have financial freedom and never have to be stuck in an abusive relationship because of money.
Okay, so, but we're going to go back because you were in real estate for a while, right? Like that was your thing. What were you doing in real estate specifically?
Well, before real estate, I was a registered nurse, and I always had this passion to help people as a nurse. And one of the passions which I realized I had was to help women. And unfortunately, in the nursing industry, you work with everybody. You can't just choose to work with women. And also, I realized that my impact wasn't as big as I wanted it to be. So I said, I need to make more money so that I could take that money and give people to Zimbabwe or women around the world and just start this organization where I'm just giving money away.
Right.
Well, that didn't happen.
Right.
But I started real estate investing with the idea that I was going to have extra cash and just use it for good cause.
Okay. So you went into real estate, and what were you doing? You were just investing, you were buying property and renting it out. Like what was your
yes,
vision?
I invested in real estate. So basically I used to buy properties and just rent them out. And sometimes I would buy undone properties, under marketed properties, and kind of flip them and sell them.
Okay, so that worked, right? Like that helped you to get to a certain financial state, I guess.
It helped me quit my nursing job. So that was one thing. It definitely worked for me. Mm-hmm.
Did it give you enough to actually send money back?
No. I realized as I was doing this that you can never ever have enough money to sponsor the world. Never. Even if you're Bill Gates. And so what I realized is the more I gave, the more people wanted me to support them. And that's when I said, you know what? I need to stop giving people money. I need to empower them so they learn how to fish instead of giving them fish, because they eat the fish and tomorrow they want some more. Right. And so I realized that I needed to empower them. And that was one way of me empowering them and getting virtual staff on demand. That's kind of how it started.
So virtual staff on demand, really what that means is there are a whole bunch of women. Are they in Zimbabwe specifically?
Yes, all of them in Zimbabwe right now. Basically what I did is I just trained them. I went there. I trained them for 4 months intensively on how to become virtual assistants and teach them how they can become virtual assistants. And then accidentally, it so happened that I wasn't planning on starting an agency. I was just going to train them and have them find their jobs. And once they graduated, they were like, now what? I was like, just go get jobs. And they were not ready at all.
Right.
Because most of these women, you have to understand, Zimbabwe is a former colony, and there's a lot of there was apartheid, and so there's a difference between, based on skin color, just like in South Africa is. So most of these women didn't have some of the comfort levels and even the communication skills, which I have gained by staying in Canada. So they needed that hand holding to be where they are.
Okay, so you gave them a whole bunch of skills, but still they didn't know how to translate that into an actual job.
Yes, even though they could do the job. Yeah.
They could do the job, but they didn't know how to get the work.
Yeah.
Okay. So then you started this agency, and now how many women are working as your virtual assistants? Not yours personally, but how many are there that are accessible?
21.
21 virtual assistants.
Yeah.
And what do they know how to do? What can they do? Like, the people who are listening to this podcast are all entrepreneurs and executives and individuals who would benefit from a virtual assistant. So if I wanted to hire one of your virtual assistants, what could they do for me?
They specialize in tech because that's where most people have challenges. So we do like the tech funnels. Like, for example, you want a landing page or a website build or you want an app, we just built an app. So you want anything which is technical, these girls can help you with that. They are wizards in tech. So they can do anything like building your website, connecting the back end of the website, updating your websites, building your funnel, your membership site, and anything which is tech related. That's really where we can come in and support you.
Okay, amazing. And so this must have really changed some of these women's lives. Like suddenly they're getting paid probably better than normal wages.
Way better, 10 times or even more better than what they used to get paid. Wow. I have a woman who shot a video for a client. She was so grateful, this woman. She shot a video for a client saying between her and her husband, and this woman is she's got a degree in statistics. She's a smart girl.
Wow.
Her husband has got a master's, and between her and her husband they were earning $65 a month.
Sorry, say that again. $65 a month.
Yeah.
How do you live on $65 a month? A day, never mind.
I know. And life is expensive. People think that life in Africa is just as expensive in Zimbabwe as it is.
Where was she living?
Like she actually had to move back to her family, to her parents, because they could not afford to pay rent. They couldn't afford to do anything, obviously, with $65. So they just basically had nothing. And so she started working with us, and her life has changed. Her life has changed. And she was sharing in this emotional video, very emotional and heartbreaking video, sharing with a client of ours how she has changed her life. And she says, you have no idea the impact you've made in my life. And actually makes me emotional thinking about the video.
So she went from $65 a month to $650 a month.
Even more. It depends on how hard she works. Sometimes she makes more.
Yeah. Sometimes she makes more. Wow. So now she can live in Africa.
Now she can live. Now she say, now I can finally buy food for my child without flinching. She couldn't.
Wow.
She couldn't even, yeah.
Wow. So you're making this massive difference. How do you train them? Like you go there and you sit in front of them? Is it a classroom setting? Like what does that look like? How do you train them? Is this an in-person experience? And what exactly are you training them to do?
So the major part of the training is the skills, but also the mindset. Because one thing which I dealt with when I went there, I realized because these women were in such a desperate situation, they didn't believe anything was possible, and they didn't believe they could be capable of anything. They had lost self-esteem. You know, when you suffer so much, you lose confidence in yourself and everything else around you. And so, which is something I didn't realize when I went there. I thought, oh, I'm just going to train them on the skills and just leave. And I get there, Kim, and I'm like, oh my goodness. I came back. I had to come back to Canada. My plan was to stay there, but I had to come back to Canada to take a break because emotionally I was drained. Just hearing their stories and hearing what they were going through every day in their lives, I was just so drained. And so, so yes, there is skills, but a lot of it is mindset. And also just making them believe in themselves, making them believe that they can do it.
So share with us a little bit, like what are they going through? What were they going through that we have no clue about? Like you're a lot more exposed than most of us. And even you were emotionally affected. So give me an example or two of what are they actually experiencing? I understand there's extreme poverty.
Yeah.
Tell us,
I'll
give
share
us a little bit of color. Yeah,
I'll share a story of this girl who shared with us. She's a lawyer, graduated lawyer. And on graduation day, she basically stood up and as a gratitude to thank everybody. And she said, you have no idea how you've empowered me. And she shared a story when she was growing up, from the age of 7 until the age of 18, she was sexually abused by her brother.
Oh my God.
And when she told her mom that her brother was abusing her, and she used to write in journals, she wanted to be a journalist, and she used to write in journals. Her mom basically took all her journals, banned them, and said, you don't tell anyone about this. And she never could tell anybody. And she says because of that experience, she became a lawyer, because she said, maybe if I become a lawyer, I'll be able to stand up for other girls, and I'll be able to tell them what the that they have to speak up, and nothing was happening in Zimbabwe. When abuse is something that you don't talk about, if somebody abuses you, you can't talk about that. You bring an embarrassment to the family, and even if you do, it's like nobody believes you, really.
Right.
It's like maybe you were wearing a miniskirt, or maybe you behaved differently.
Right. So they blame the woman.
So yeah, so you are blamed, so you might as well just keep quiet. And she became a lawyer to help these women. But even as a lawyer, just to get a job, just to do anything, you kind of have to do a little favors for the boss. You don't just get a job like that. There's so much involved, and this girl suffered a lot in her work, underpaid because she was a woman, and all that stuff. And now she's working as a virtual assistant, and she said to me, when she graduated and shared with this, and she said, you have no idea how you've empowered me. And there's something else that happened during this sharing. When she shared this, all these women, I was crying, like I was a mess. And all these women have a straight face and they look okay. And then I'm like, oh my goodness, how could these people not be feeling that? And as I stayed in Zimbabwe longer, I realized that I became like that because I had so many of those stories so often. It wasn't affecting me anymore. And this came through me when I was back in Canada, and I'm like, what proof do I have? And then I realized I was reading all these articles every day of somebody selling their body just because they have to put food on the table. Or not even an article, because that's common. I mean, that happens all the time. But things which were so, for me, being a Canadian, would have been, oh my God, I can't believe that. But I was so used to them now, Kim. It was just like normal life.
So I asked you this question before when we spoke last time, but I want you to repeat. Like, if they have no money and if they're so oppressed, how do they become a lawyer? How does this woman become a lawyer without the funding and without the support? Like, how does that work?
Well, one good thing which has happened in Zimbabwe is education. The country values education so much. Whether you're a man or a woman, everybody has a PhD. Well, not everybody, but a lot of my friends I went to school with, they either have a PhD or a master's or a degree of some sort. So education is so valued even by your parents. So one thing, the parents will sell everything they have just to make sure you go to school.
Right.
So that is the advantage. But the unemployment rate is 95%.
Wow.
When the unemployment rate is 95%, the most people are affected are women.
So there are these people who go to school, get very significant degrees, and then still are unemployed. They're left with nothing.
Yeah.
What do I do with myself?
Exactly. And then the next thing that happens is you end up getting into a relationship just so you could put food on the table.
Wow. So there's all of this personal compromise and sacrifice that they're making just to survive.
Just to survive. And I don't know if I've shared this with you, Kim. When I left Zimbabwe, the reason I left, other than being a refugee, is I discovered that my husband had 3 wives. And I was third wife, actually had 2 wives. And when I went
you didn't know that before?
I didn't know that before. And when I went to tell my mom that I had to leave, my mom said, if you do, who'll take care of you?
Wow.
I was fortunate enough to be able to leave. But there are so many girls right now who are staying because they say, if I leave, who'll take care of me?
So go back. You get married to this guy. You don't know he's married to other women. Yeah. You had no clue.
Yeah.
How did you find out?
Well, you start seeing actions, and I realized something is wrong here. And I went to Harare, where he was living. I went to the city where he was living because he had transferred for work. So I went to the place where he was living, and I've always been a gutsy person. I'm out of the norm. I was
clearly.
I was one of those kids who are like, oh my gosh, she's a rascal. She doesn't follow the rules. Right. And that has served me very well in my life. So I do this gutsy thing, and I go to his work, and I'm like, you have to tell me where you stay and all that stuff, because he had kind of disappeared really on me.
Right.
And I need to know where you live and everything. And so finally I managed to get his address. Oh. And I went to his house, and I got to his house, and I found his second wife, and she's the one who told me, oh, there is another one.
Oh, wow.
and there's 5 more kids. Like,
Wow.
okay.
So wait, did you have children with this man?
I was pregnant.
Oh my. And then what happened?
Well, I stayed with him because I said, there's no way I'm going back home until you go and tell my parents what happened, because I was so scared of my parents. There's no way I was going to go tell my mom what had happened. So I stayed with him and I said, you have to take me home. You have to take me home. And he drilled until last minute. And finally I went home.
So hold on. Why were you afraid to tell your parents that he was married to, well, you told them, but why were you afraid? Like, explain that to me. They didn't know he was married. If they had known, would they have said, go marry him?
Maybe, yeah, they would have, because after I told my mom later on, and she just, her words were, if you leave, we'll take care of you. Yeah. So it's a different culture back home. You
Yes.
respect your parents, and it's not just respect, there's also the fear part. Like there was no, we don't communicate about those kind of things with our parents. We don't. I couldn't even tell my mom I had a boyfriend.
Me neither. So you went back to their house and you were pregnant. Did
Yeah.
you have this baby? Did you
No,
give
I was
birth?
pregnant. I was still pregnant, and I delivered when I was at my mom's.
So you were pregnant and you delivered. So you had this child.
Yeah,
A
she's
girl, a
19.
boy?
She's right here. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. So you delivered this baby in Africa, and then when did you decide to leave?
I left when she was 10 months old.
Wow.
When she was 10 months old, I had to, I just couldn't continue staying. I mean, I was staying with my mom, but I had to leave Zimbabwe. Like first of all, financially, I couldn't, the only way I could survive financially was to continue with my husband at that time. That's the only way.
So you
And remember,
left.
I'm already damaged goods with a kid. That's
Right.
kind of, so
So you're damaged goods. Who else is going to take you? In
who
other
else
words.
is going to take me? So I kind of have to leave.
So you left and you went to Canada.
Yes.
So why Canada? We love Canada, but why Canada?
Because that's what they told me. I just went to the person who was organizing and helping. Also, there was political unrest in Zimbabwe, and so I was part of another political party. But anyways, I went to the person who was part of the political party, and he told me Canada. And then the reason why I ended up in Montreal, because he told me that I could either go via France or I could go via another country. I can't remember what. And I thought, France, that sounds cool. I can see Paris. So I went via France and I ended up in Montreal.
Okay, so you lived in Montreal for a while.
Yeah, I lived in Montreal for 5 years. I went to school in Montreal. I lived in Montreal for 5 years.
Where did you live in Montreal?
I lived in Longueuil. Actually, it's not Montreal, it's Longueuil. I don't know if you know, it's across
I
the
grew up in Montreal.
Oh, you really? Yeah, I lived in Longueuil and I lived in Côte d'Ivoire. What is it called? Oh my God, I forgot it. It's at the end there, south end. Côte something. Yeah.
Okay.
Côte de Neige, I think.
Côte de Neige? Côte de Neige is like downtown. Okay, anyway,
No,
we'll talk about that after.
Yeah.
So you're in Montreal, you have a baby, 10 months old. Like, where do you go? Where do you live? How do you earn a
Actually,
living?
I couldn't bring my baby.
Okay.
I couldn't bring my baby because I didn't have, first, I didn't have a passport. I didn't have money to get a passport for her. And secondly, there's no way my husband at that time or ex-husband would have let me bring her. So I had to leave her with my mom. So I left my baby with my mom and I came to Montreal as a refugee. And when you arrive in Montreal as a refugee, they had a program. I don't know if they still do, but they had a program where they kind of give you accommodation and they gave you $500 to get started. And so they gave me $500 to go find a place. And I rented a place in Côte d'Ivoire. That's what it was called, Côte d'Ivoire. Okay. I rented a place and it was $365. Basically, I had $150 left to buy my groceries and to buy a bus pass.
Okay. And then you got a job.
And then I got a job, yeah. My first job was my first job, I got it at a car wash. Because a friend of mine told me car washes in North America are cool. So I went to this car wash wearing heels. are basically what we see in movies where girls are like this.
Yeah.
And so I thought that what is going to be, not that that's what I wanted, but that's the job I got. So I went there and oh my goodness, it was definitely a different experience. And,
Yeah.
and the hills didn't last long. And I did that for one day. And after that, I got into customer well, it wasn't customer, it was telemarketing. There was a lot of telemarketers in Montreal at that time, and I didn't know what it was. And so I worked there for years, and finally, actually for a year, I think full time for a year. And then finally a client asked me on the phone and said, can you describe the I think we're selling a directory. Can you describe the directory, how it looks like? So I went to my boss and I said, George, everybody keeps asking me to describe a directory. Can you just show it to me so that I can see and explain it easily? And he looked at me and said, Tembi, there is no directory.
So you were selling something that didn't exist?
Yeah. And then I was like, oh my God. So I've been tricking people for the past year. And, you know, coming from Africa, you have this innocence. You're like, I'm going to go to jail. I'm going to die. And basically, after that, I worked as a caregiver. Excuse me. I worked as a caregiver and started taking care
as a what? Oh, a caregiver. Okay. Yeah.
I started taking care of people. And when my papers were okay and I was able to go to school, I applied and went into nursing school.
Okay, so there you go. You became a nurse. And then when did you go to Kelowna, and when did your daughter come? Like, that's what we really want to know.
Yeah, my daughter joined me in 2004, so 3 years later.
Okay. Wow. So you're living in Kelowna. Are you remarried?
No. I'm very happy.
You're happy. Not interested.
Not interested right now.
You know what? Someone's going to look at you on this video and go, man, she needs to be interested.
Impress me.
Impress you. Okay. We'll work on that. You know, I was once on this podcast and the question was, if you were not doing this for a living, like if you didn't own a coaching company and you could pick another second career, what would you do? And I said, I'd be in the matchmaking business. That's what I said.
Really?
Yes.
Well, you better get onto it, Kim.
Yeah.
I need a ring on this finger.
Yes. I need also a bigger database. I need more men in my database, single men. Having said that, if anyone's interested in Thembi, please let me be the go-between. Okay.
Hilarious.
Okay, so your daughter lives with you in Kelowna, but you travel back and forth.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So you spend basically 4 months in Zimbabwe and then the rest of the time in Kelowna.
In Canada, yes. Mm-hmm.
In Canada. Okay, amazing. So here we are. You have not only transformed your own life, you've transformed the lives of so many women in not South Africa, just Zimbabwe. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Geography is
Zimbabwe, yeah.
Zimbabwe. And I mean, what's your next goal? What's the next step? What do you envision for yourself?
I just want to scale. I just want to get to a stage where women are so empowered. It is not a matter of choice in regards to what they have to do. Because right now you have to decide the moment we can be able to eliminate where somebody has to decide between freedom and life, basically, and choices. Decide, should I buy my child food or should I buy him school shoes? When we get to a point where we don't have to make those decisions because of financial constraints, that's where I really envision the world to be. And I'm on a mission to spread that message. I'm on a mission. I'm going to be speaking at TEDx in December just to spread the message, because we need to stop the way we are looking at empowering people and eliminating poverty. We need to take a twist to that and say, you know, this hasn't worked. How many years has the world been trying to eliminate poverty? In how many years has the world been trying to send aid to Africa? Right. We need to stop that. We can have people in Africa working and being empowered without us paying $1 a day to feed a kid. They can feed their own kids if we empower them to work. And so I need to spread that message.
You know, it's a very interesting message because it aligns very closely with what we do at Frame of Mind Coaching. And I'll kind of just take a step back. You know, when we feel bad for others, we want to help them and we give them help. We give them aid, right? But
Yeah.
as a coach, I cannot feel bad for somebody that I'm coaching, because if I feel bad for them, I'm unable to coach them to rise up to their best selves, to be, you say the word empowered, to be, to operate from their best place, right?
Exactly.
So if I feel bad for you, if I have sympathy for you, that doesn't serve you. And what you're really saying is, if we have sympathy, the actions we take don't ultimately serve them in the long run.
No, no, no. I, having grown up in Zimbabwe, I have seen the poverty. I saw those United Nations trucks come and give us food. That did not empower me. That made me want to also receive and receive and receive. And women in Zimbabwe, or women anyway, or anybody anyway, they are done receiving. They want to work. They are smart. That's why they go to school, get PhDs, get degrees, because they want to work and empower themselves. They're not waiting for aid. They're done with aid.
Wow. So one more question, because I'm really interested. So what does your mother think now?
Oh, she's so proud. She is so proud. Yeah, she's so proud.
What does she think of your story? You know, does she feel like you made the right move? What does she think about the fact you were married to a guy who was married to two other people? Like when she replays those days, what are her thoughts?
I don't know, but I think she's very proud. I do know that she still wants me to get married, because to her, getting married is all I have done. If I'm not married, I really haven't achieved a lot.
What do
To,
you think about that?
it's her opinion, and it's what she grew up with, and I accept that for her, but not for me.
I have to tell you, like when I was your guest on your show, you inspired me. And it's supposed to be the other way around, right? But here we are again. And once again, I am inspired by you. Like you're just awesome and amazing in every single way. You have a light that shines from you physically, emotionally, and intellectually on all levels. And for me, like I'm honored to be, you know, communicating with you on any level. So you're just amazing. How do people find you? How do people hire your virtual assistants?
Thank you, Kim. Yeah, so the best way is to go to our website, virtualstaffondemand.com, virtualstaffondemand.com, and you'll find more details on how you can hire. It's a simple process, really. You can just sign up right there and start empowering women. And the best way to connect me is also through Virtual Staff on Demand.
Virtualstaffondemand.com. Go there, find Thembi, find a virtual assistant. And not just because you're doing a good deed, but because they are serving you and doing something good for you that you need to grow your business, to be more successful, to let go of the things that maybe you're not that great at. So do that. Go to virtual staff.
Yes, Virtual Staff on Demand.
On demand, virtualstaffondemand.com. Thembi, it's an honor. It's a pleasure. I can't wait till we talk again.
Thank you so much, Kim. It was such an amazing time.